Hello and welcome to Take 3. So it's going to be almost 100 days now since Modi 3.0 got voted back to office, and already we're seeing something interesting in terms of a phenomena, in terms of a paradigm of governance, and something that we haven't seen in Modi 1.0 or Modi 2.0, and that is to announce certain things and then roll them back. So is this getting used to coalition dharma, or is this how the road is going to be in the third term? Here on Take 3 this week, our guest host is Managing Editor with Money Control, Nalin Mehta. Welcome to Take 3. And as always, Rahul Shivshankar, Consulting Editor with Network 18. So Nalin, let me start with you. I think there was a newspaper opinion piece today which the headline captured it beautifully. It said, 240 is the new 180. Is that the case with Modi 3.0?
I'm not sure about 240 being the new 180, but there is no question that we are seeing an avatar of the Modi government in the last 2 months that we've never seen before. This is certainly not what Plan A was. Plan A was they would get 400 par or 300 par, and it would be, one more phase of the Modi revolution, if you like. When the numbers didn't come, when it became 240, for the first few weeks there was this sense that it would be still business. The government wanted to give an impression it's business as usual. The allies are on board, and there was that the give and take, the usual give and take that we saw in the Vajpayee government and the UPA 1 and 2 governments. It may not be that way.
But it's not business as usual.
It is not business as usual, exactly.
And why is that?
So the point I'm trying to make is that what is happening now is not just the allies, it's also a lot of one step forward and 2 steps backward, because the larger political landscape has changed. Okay. It's not so much the allies asking for their pound of flesh as we've seen in coalitions in the past. But if you look at lateral entry, the U-turn on that, if you look at on the broadcast bill, if you look at the issue of reservations, I think there is a doubt that there is a perception that the confidence of the past is a problem, that there is a political uncertainty. You have a much more stronger opposition. Just look at Parliament in the last winter session. I don't think we've seen opposition leaders taking on the highest levels of the government in this manner and having their say, challenging the Speaker, Om Birla, and in the Rajya Sabha in this manner. So what's happening is, and also I think what's happened is, there is a very big shift in middle class opinion. Okay. Now, whether that will remain for or now, whether it's ephemeral, whether it's a permanent shift, we don't know. It's too early. But certainly what's happened is, there was a aura of invincibility around the Modi government. That aura has been pricked, right? So people are questioning it a lot more than it did earlier.
So Rahul, let's decipher this one by one. One about the coalition, right? The coalition dharma. Vajpayee had to face it. Manmohan Singh had to face it. Mr. Modi did not have to face it in the first 2 terms. Now he has to. But even there, I find it quite interesting that a Chirag Paswan with 5 MPs is saying, nahi lateral entry nahi hogi. Without reservations, there can't be any lateral entry. Surely, you're not telling me that Mr. Modi with 240 MPs on his own is worried about a Chirag Paswan with 5 MPs? I mean, and that's why he's rolling back stuff.
So, Zach, now, the two of you use certain phrases, and I'm ever the contrarian. Someone has to play a little bit of the contrarian on this show, right? So the phrases were new paradigm of governance, avatar of a never seen before kind of Modi government. Okay. Look, we're speaking in a few certitudes. Luckily, you guys didn't say this is the NDA has become the new UPA. Okay?
You were saying it.
No, I might be saying it, but I'm saying it in a
UPA 3.0.
So luckily, you guys are not saying that. But look, first things first, obviously, there have been a few rollbacks, and they've looked clumsy. Not so much because the decisions were monumental in some ways, but because you didn't consult people. So first things first, I think the government is yet to get used to a process of consultation. I'll just come to that, just park that aside. But I think we all agree that the NDA 2 was the apex of the BJP.
In terms of how much power they
303 seats.
Okay.
And then, of course, you add the NDA number and almost was, 350, almost.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'll take you through their history of so-called rollbacks, not looking very certain, looking very shaky, and these are major decisions. So I was doing a whole research, PRS website, to see how many bills were actually passed, how many were scuppered, how many were sort of put on ice, and how many were eventually not even reconsidered. So look at the land acquisition bill.
Okay.
Major bill for reforms. I mean, if you look at most economists, they say that the one problem that is keeping us from 8 to 11% growth is because we haven't reformed fast. So obviously these reforms are very important. So land acquisition bill, the government's effort to amend the land acquisition law were put on hold.
So this
due
is
to
when
opposition
Rahul
from,
Gandhi famously said, "Soot boot ki sarkar,"
yeah,
right?
So this
that's
is,
that's
I'm talking about 2014 to 2024.
2024.
These are the golden years, okay, of when the NDA was right on top. So that goes. Labor reforms. So the bills are passed, 4 bills. What happens? The codes are not. Now these are major decisions, okay, very major decisions. And in the first, you're sensitive obviously to civil society in the way they'll react, because Zameen is what ties every Indian to their, hearth. Labor, very sensitive part of the, voting public. So that goes. Privatization, public sector. Every year you miss the targets in your, budget. So much so that, Nalin, we were discussing yesterday, I think, that ab to sarkar ne bola target hi mat lagao.
They removed it from this budget.
They removed it from
Let's not have disinvestment target.
Okay. Then you had the National Counter-Terrorism Center that you did not go ahead with. Okay, this is a government that prides itself in being nationalist. Okay, goods and service tax on petroleum products. Now, obviously, this has to go to the GST Council. There's a whole lot of politics around it, and so on. Aadhaar-based national health ID. If you remember this. It became a massive talking point. It went to the courts. There was a lot of drama about this. It was shuttered because of data privacy and security concerns, right? So the middle class, this, that, the other. And of course, the CA, they passed it, great fanfare, 2019, did not get notified till whatever.
And then the farm laws, of course.
The farm laws, of course, was the most apparent, visible rollback. Now, this is a sarkar that was supposedly at its apex when Modi was most decisive. In fact, people were saying he was dictatorial, and what they actually wanted for him to be was more consensual. Now, when Modi, this is what the intelligence here said, look, you must be more consensual, you've got to take everyone along. And then, of course, he said that, the opposition is very strong now. And look at the way they challenge the speaker. So just quickly, when he's becoming more consensuous, when he's sort of saying, okay, I need to deliberate more. Now, you can fault him for not doing enough of it.
Okay.
But he seems to be more sensitive to people pushing back. Democracy, my friends, is messy, and a fractured mandate is even messier.
No, so here's my thing. So all the examples that Rahul just listed, these were bills that were brought in ostensibly with good intentions, reforms, etc. There was some political opposition. It took some time for the government to either put it in the deep freezer or to roll it back. But for the first time, we are seeing, take the case of this whole lateral entry business, right? Till like the first day night, all ministers were defending it, saying this is the best thing that's happened. We need expertise, areas like climate change. There isn't enough experts inside government. We need to bring them from the outside. And the next morning, it's been withdrawn. So the thing that concerns me is the speed with which these rollbacks are happening. And, you can justify it post facto. But I think the fundamental problem is it goes against the grain of what the Modi Sarkar has stood for, which is it's a strong government, it's a decisive government, it's a government that can push through unpopular reforms. That's now out the window?
So, 2 things, Zaka. I mean, I think before the election results came in, a lot of people thought, and certainly the government was very clear, there was supposed to be a 100-day agenda of governance.
Yeah.
And then on the anvil were the remaining bits of the ideological agenda, which was the Uniform Civil Code, which was the one nation, one election idea, which Mr. Modi has personally fronted. And over the last few years, I mean, to give credit where it's due, I think I want to respond to what Rahul was saying. See, a lot of people who see Mr. Modi as a strong man, and accuse him of various things. The fact of the matter is, the reason why Mr. Modi has been the Prime Minister for so long and is still the most popular leader in the country by a margin, by all opinion polls, is because he's had a sense of the pulse of this country, and he's had an uncanny knack of doing that against conventional wisdom, right? Also, I think he's also been a politician par excellence. It is whether you agree or disagree with him. He knows the politics give and take in his previous avatar before he came to power. The difference now, and keeping in mind the example that Rahul gave, in all of these, almost all of these examples, the government never blinked immediately.
Yeah.
Whether it was a land sealing act or whether it was the farmers bill later or with others that were kept in the back burner after doing it, the persona of Mr. Modi and his government has been, we are doing what we are doing, and we know and we know what we are doing. So it was always a perception of strength as opposed to weakness. It was always juxtaposed with what was seen as a perception of UPA 2 against weak leader versus strong leader. All of that. That's at the heart of the Modi persona. Has been from his days as chief minister.
I mean, it was never because Rahul Gandhi tweeted about it and the next day you rolled back.
Rahul, just one second. So sorry if I may complete. There are two issues which are different now. Even when in the past, when they backtracked, whether it was CAA or we didn't really officially backtrack, but they kind of put it on the back burner. The government was, the whole problem with the opposition last 10 years has been the BJP set the agenda, opposition could follow. They never set the agenda. What's happening now, the perception that is gaining currency currently is the opposition that's setting the agenda and the government is being forced to react. There is also a, and this you look at LTCG, you look at even this inane example of the J&K list that was published, rescinded, published again with one change. It kind of is giving a sense of confusion. Now, whether you agree or disagree with the BJP, BJP was always under the new BJP, under Mr. was always seen as single-minded party that was putting everything across. Now it's suddenly looking a bit confused.
He used the word confused. Can I, one bureaucrat used a pretty interesting word to me. He said there's a bit of a funk at the top. And that's a problem. I mean, that's not something that you associate with the Modi persona or the Modi government, because like Nalan said, for better or for worse, he was very sure of what he's doing. And it didn't matter what the opposition was. You could have, people holding up Delhi's borders for a year, but he believed in the farm laws and he stuck to it. And ultimately, he withdrew it because, as he said in his own words, "Hamare tapasya mein koi kami reh gaya ho." But I think this whole, I get the part about, okay, coalition dharma, it's a new lay of the land, you need to take even a Chirag Paswan with 5 MPs on board. That's one part of it. I get it. New birth pangs. But what I don't get is this whole funk. Because if you're not sure at the top what's going on, then how are you expecting the rank and file to sort of take their cues?
बात ये है कि people come up with all sorts of post facto definitions, okay, to describe a situation. Now,
how would you describe the last 3 months?
So what I'm saying is, fundamentally, these guys, what they've lost, I feel, is confidence in knowing what is actually going to click.
Okay.
Right? I think that's the fundamental problem. Just park that aside. On this business of the speed with which the rollbacks are happening, and that sort of makes us believe that this time the indecision is even greater. In fact, the more you invest in something that you stand for, and then you rescind, the sweeter is the victory for the opponent. Because then it's like this David-Goliath thing, that look, you pushed Goliath back. Now, look, fundamentally, the problem that has been with Modi is the fact that he was so cocksure. That I am going to do this, I'll push it through, whether the farmers are there or whether the Shaheen Bagh Dadis are there or what have you, I'm going to do this. Right? Now, that we conflated with a sense of, my way or the highway, instinct. Right? What I'm trying to say is that I think what has actually happened in the last 3 or 6 months is that Mr. Modi has realized that with his lesser numbers now, he cannot be what he is. So if you've seen, he's not even fronting a lot of the decision making. Earlier there used to be broadcasts by him, special broadcasts, there used to be an attempt to at least explain it in the public. We don't hear from him, rollbacks are happening. Even the statement released to explain the withdrawal of this lateral entry was put out by the minister concerned. Okay. And they referred to what the Prime Minister didn't go on air. So I think fundamentally, as I'm saying, the mandate is fractured and it's making things messier. In any case, democracy is messier. I don't know, should we welcome this actually? This sort of humbling, let's say, of this individual who was built up to be someone who was greater than, you know, the some parts of the mandate itself? I don't know.
Let me say this, you know, I know a lot of people, not just in the opposition, but a lot of people would be happy with this cutting down to size.
I think so.
What I do want to know, as we take quick closing comments in this part of the segment, is what happens now? I mean, is it because, okay, he gets a big win in one of the upcoming state assembly elections, then what? Then the mojo is back, and then Modi as we know it is back?
So, may I make a comment first, Zaka, is that the political reality has changed or is shifting, but it's almost like the government works in one gear, and that gear is certainly not working. So, the point to respond to what Rahul was saying earlier, that about give politics of consensus, of give and take, that also requires a certain softness of approach. It also requires a lot of back channel stuff.
Yeah.
What's missing right now is that there is an older style of working, which is, you know, absolutely up there in your face, and then the reality is different. But the missing layer seems to be, so that it needs almost to start looking at other gears of functioning. Like in the Vajpayee regime, in the Manmohan Singh regime, there was, I mean, nobody expected them to roughen it out or to brazen it out, right?
So another way of saying what Nalin is saying is you basically need the Pramod Mahajans and the Arun Jaitlis and the Ahmed Patels to
You
sort
need
of
people with
grease the
old style
wheels a bit.
politics needs to kind of
But,
come
you
back.
have
and
the
it needs-
Gadkaris, you have the Chauhans in this government.
Rajnath
Now, I
Singh,
don't know
yeah.
how well, Rajnath saying how empowered they are, but you know, on this point of what happens next, where we are going with this,
Yeah, quickly.
look, there's one very big criticism of Mr. Modi from some of his own, you know, followers. Is he really that big ticket reformer that he was built up to be? And when you really look at some of these very seminal reforms, they've not gone anywhere fundamentally.
Okay.
So, you know, that's also something up for debate.
So
Okay.
my last point.
Yeah. Okay, quick, 10 seconds.
So quickly
I'll
on the
take a break.
elections,
Yeah.
you got Haryana coming up,
Yeah.
J&K, and then Maharashtra. The BJP is on a sticky wicket in Haryana. On J&K, it's not really in the game. Maharashtra is up for grabs. Any reverses in these elections, and or BJP needs a big victory to regain its mojo back, to get the momentum, and we have and that's going to be an important issue.
Let's see if and how that happens. But what we'll do is we'll take a break here on Take 3. When we come back, our continuing focus, and it's been dominant on the news this week as well, the entire fallout around RG Kar and the unfortunate incident that happened with the young doctor there. The political fallout of it, I think, is taking shape and form now. And we'll talk about that on the other side of this quick break.